So somebody wrote to you to ask about what's happened with measure theory in social sciences
Yeah, you
since the
mentioned that
publication
guy.
of your book.
Uh,
So yeah, what has happened with measure theory in the social sciences, at least as far as you know?
Nothing.
Oh,
I mean, of course, you could say probability is a sub system of measure theory. In other words, the basic idea is that probability theory is based on is measure theory
sure.
as a result of the Kolmogorov uh, publication in 1933. He's the one who finally put probability theory on the map as far as mathematicians are concerned.
Right.
I believe actually you sent me that book.
Yeah, I think I did send you a
Yeah,
copy of that.
well, I've read it and I'm impressed. Uh,
Oh, good.
I think I think it was quite original. It doesn't really cover too much. I mean, it covers the basic concept of probability, but it doesn't talk too much about the applications of it.
Well, going back to your book, at the time you published it, didn't some other research groups reach out to you though? Like I thought there are some groups in Europe who invited you to visit even. So
Oh
so they weren't doing stuff with measure theory and the social sciences?
no, not per se. Um, I mean, of course, probability theory. I mean, if you talk about measure theory in the social sciences, or in fact, in anywhere, I would say probability is by far the most important aspect of it. But measure theory goes beyond probability because it represents the concept of distributions in general. And probability theory refers to distributions over possible um, I mean, if you have alternative ways of viewing something, which uh, which are contradictory to each other, so only one of them can be true, all the others are false. That's probability theory. But you could also talk about the distribution of population, for example, over the world, or one particular person. You could talk about his height, weight, heart rate, all kind. You thousands of possible things you can talk about, and each one of them might have a probability distribution. Since you don't know what they are, they might be very narrow probability distributions. So you're pretty sure of what, let's say, the blood pressure is, uh, and but on the others, many things in which you have almost no information whatsoever. So you represent that as a flat distribution over the alternatives.
How about yourself? Going back again to measure theory, you wrote the book, but did you yourself do more work on measure theory and economics?
Yes, I have, and
I see.
it's um, well, it's hard for me to summarize what it is, but I think that the two aspects of measure theory go together with each other. In other words, you have I can talk about the distribution of population, let's say over space, over time. Of course, it varies in that direction. Uh, you can talk about the population of individual species. You could talk about males versus females, the age distributions. You have an indefinitely large number of things that you can contemplate, and the relations between them, and how do you make inferences in probability, which goes beyond probability, so to speak. So you want to keep good track of both of these things.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, a lot of what I'm working on is basically to uh, look at all of these things together and their overall relations.
Oh, so you're talking about your current work, like the book you're currently thinking
Yeah.
about. Okay.
And in
How about
terms
in
of
terms of paper?
publications, I think I showed you those particular things.
Oh, I see.
you know, of which I have a couple of copies. Um, I mean, you said that I have sent you some material over the years, right?
You mean are you talking about the natural selection paper?
That's certainly one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say I have two or three basic papers, and there's one that I showed to. I think I mentioned this to you. Let's see, who was that guy who was here? He was a well-known statistician. I think he's still alive, but retired. And he was the last pupil of R.A. Fisher.
Oh yeah, that's Edwards.
Edwards, that's right. That's the name. So I sent him a. He was visiting the campus, so I went over there, and I threw out a couple of questions, and he didn't know the answers to them. So I said, I'm going to give you a copy of my book, the paper that I wrote, and I said, attaching a note that this particular thing starts on this certain page toward the end of it, and he wrote back saying he was very impressed with the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's good. And yeah, that's right. Good old Edwards. He's retired, so you know, if he was younger, I would rely on him to spread the idea that there's something in this. You know, I published it in this Festschrift for Martin Beckman, I think, which obviously did not have a very wide readership. So it's still awaiting. And one of the things I want to accomplish by my magnum opus is to open it out to people's what people are actually concerned with. Both, you know, scholars are concerned with in various disciplines, but they don't talk to each other. In other words, sociologists really don't have much to say to psychologists or to economists and so forth and so on. But if you want a comprehensive picture of what's going on, you've got to look at each of these things and their connections between them. So I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, it kind of sounds like the answer is, well, I think first of all you said that you don't know of much work going on with measure theory in the social sciences beyond your book. And then would you say that natural selection paper is the main thing in your own work where you continued on looking at it? I remember it mostly looking at probability theory.
Uh-huh.
Remember, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, most of that paper was in plain English. It didn't have anything to do with mathematics, but that last part was the one that concerned Edwards, and I am very pleased with that. And I mean, the basic idea is that if you have a population in which different parts of it are growing at different rates, and they continue growing at those rates, obviously you're going to get a redistribution of the overall weight of the individual parts. The ones that are growing fastest would get a bigger and bigger weight over time. And you want to know something about the distribution of the weights. And it turns out, strangely enough, that the normal distribution is extremely important in that. In other words, if you got weights, rates of growth that are more or less steady, then the distribution of those weights is going to be normal. I think that quite interesting result. So that's all in the paper, but you know that's only one little piece of it, and you can say that can't be too realistic because a positive rate of growth can't continue indefinitely because there's just a capacity to that. But you can correct that by saying the unit by which you measure things itself has to grow, so that the overall population, consisting of all of the individual pieces, has an upper limit. So.
Do you have any advice for people who might want to apply measure theory in the social sciences? Like, what if somebody did want to continue your work, going all the way back to the 1977 book?
Yeah, well, right now I really don't.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so I don't. You know, I mean, people are aware of measure theory. There's actually a much better mathematical knowledge than there used to be. That has grown considerably.
Oh,
I mean, in economics itself, Paul Samuelson was the one who introduced mathematics in a very important way. So I remember, you know, he was a graduate student at this time in Harvard, I believe, and during his oral examination, he had all these, you know, powerful, very expert people, including Joseph Schumpeter, and at the end of the oral, Schumpeter talked to his colleague and said, "Did we pass?" So yeah, I may have gone too far in the opposite direction now, but and you know, and I think a lot of the things that are stressed today, I think, are on the wrong path, especially game theory, because by its very nature, game if you're dealing with game, I mean, if you have something which is self-contained, like the game of Go, even the game of chess, etc. In principle, you can deduce that the game of checkers has been completely solved. It's a draw with perfect play on both sides, which itself is quite interesting, quite impressive. But in chess, nobody knows. I mean, you know, there's the most likely outcome in chess is also a draw with perfect play. But you know, in terms of who wins, white typically wins maybe 5 times out of 9 or something like that. So there's a slight advantage to going first. But you could say, so suppose you make a stupid move to begin with. Does the advantage then go to black? I think the worst possible move is pawn to king's bishop 3. Just thinking of it, because it blocks all kinds of paths by that, and so that's, let's say white does that. If black goes pawn to king 4, and you move pawn to king's knight 4, there's a mate on the next move by black. That's called the fool's mate.
oh, okay.
The fool's mate and the scholar's mate. The scholar's mate is when you hit black. In other words, the fool's mate is where the black goes over white. The scholar's mate is the opposite direction, in which you move a bishop out here, you move a rook, you move a queen to king's rook 5, and then you've got these 2 things, and if black doesn't do something very fast, it's queen to king's bishop 7, checkmate.
Huh.
So, presumably it doesn't happen too often, but it's interesting. So you know, I mean, if white makes pawn to bishop 3, does that give black the advantage? Does black have a 1 game after that? Very unlikely. You probably would still get a draw. But suppose white plays pawn to king 4, and black pays pawn to king's bishop 3. Is that a one game for white? Maybe it is. Who knows? But you know, you think of all kinds of questions like that. I don't know. Is it conceivable that black has a one game?
You mean those situations, or just
just from the very beginning?
Huh.
I mean, I find that extremely unlikely. I would say 1 chance in a billion that black actually has. In other words, that would say that white is in zugzwang on the very first move. In other words, whatever he does makes things worse, and all experiences that is false. You know, pawn to king 4, that's good. Pawn to queen 4, that's probably even a little better, and knight to king bishop 3 or something like that. That would be okay too. So, do you know enough of chess to understand what I'm saying?
Sort of.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, it is possible that we will never be able to solve that because, you know, a typical chess game, according to the rules, could last for thousands of moves. I mean, the only thing that would stop it in midstream is 50 moves without a capture or without a pawn move, something that is irreversible. So if you don't do that, the game is automatically a draw at that point. But that still leaves room for thousands of moves. So,
yeah, we'll see.
And Go is probably more complicated. I'm not sure about that. I mean, you have a greater range of moves, but you have a smaller range of pieces. You have just one type of piece.
Well, I guess it took computers a lot longer to start beating people at Go, or
yeah, that's true.
Beating human experts at Go.
Yeah, because there's well, you know, I mean, the fact that you have just you know, one single piece, but a very large board basically means that you don't have the kind of clues you need to build cumulative results. And I remember that I once saw that you know, the world champion was surprised by a very unusual move in Go, and I remember what it was. It was one piece was here, and the surprise move was to have another piece just diagonally across from it. They just moved out to there, and the challenger won that game. So I don't know. And the trouble with game theory is you're dealing with something that is, I mean, if you talk about the theory of games, each player has to know something, at least have a probability distribution over the possible ideas that your opponents have. And for the case of one human on both sides, I think it's almost impossible to pin that down.
Even just with 2 people.
Yeah, just 2 people. If you had more people, that makes it even worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you do.
You know, that's why I think this game theory is very popular now. So both among economists and among, say, sociologists and other people. But I think that there's an upper limit to how much you can do that. You have to confine yourself to very, very simple games where you artificially say you have an understanding of what your opponents do. So, and there's also an intermediate case, you know, where you have people playing, but they're confined to rules. Let's say something like a basketball game.
Or an auction.
Or an auction. Well, yeah, well, auctions, actually, there is an extensive theory of auctions. And my old teacher, Vickery, made a contribution to that particular thing. He said that the ideal auction is where you go up and up and up, and you get the winner, but the winner is not charged with the amount that he bet, but the second highest one right after that.
That's called a victory auction, right?
That's a victory auction. That's right. So that's one of his contributions.
Yeah, I think at some point Google was using that.
Yeah,
might still be using that. Yeah.
Right. That has been percolating. So that's good. You know, victory. I think he started as an engineer, and then he became an economist, and he actually was named for the Nobel Prize, but he died 3 days later. I think he probably was so excited by getting the Nobel Prize that it overtaxed his heart, something like that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So. Ah, well.
Well, any last thoughts on measure theory and the social sciences?
I think it has a great future.
Okay.
But it has very little past and almost no present.
Are there any books other than yours that you would recommend people look at?
As far as measure theory is concerned?
Measure theory in the social sciences specifically.
I don't know of any such book.
Okay. Well, I guess it's lucky they've got your book at least.
Yeah. Well, we can. What am I doing here? Look at that.